Not again. The Beast Brock Lesnar has just striked again as he did this to John Cena. John Cena thought his legend status would protect him. He thought 17 WWE championships and 2 decades of company loyalty earned him respect from the Beast Incarnate. He was dead wrong. What Brock Lesnar did to the so-called leader of Cenation tonight was so vicious and disrespectful that it's going to make you furious at how easily WWE's Golden Boy was reduced to a broken, embarrassed shell of his former self, and the most infuriating part is that Cena begged Brock to stop before it was over. The audacity of what we just witnessed is absolutely mind-blowing. John Cena, the man who's supposed to represent everything good about WWE, the corporate poster boy who's been protected by management for 20 years, just got systematically destroyed by someone who doesn't care about his legacy, his Hollywood career, or his Make-A-Wish record. Brock treated Cena like he was some nobody from developmental who didn't deserve to share the same ring with legitimate greatness. This wasn't just another match, this was a public execution designed to humiliate one of wrestling's most protected superstars in front of millions of fans who grew up believing Cena was invincible. The psychological damage from this beating is going to haunt Cena for the rest of his career, and the physical destruction was so complete that he couldn't even stand up for his own music after the match ended. The build-up to this confrontation had everyone expecting a classic battle between two legends, with Cena's experience and determination potentially overcoming Brock's raw athleticism and power. WWE's marketing machine spent weeks hyping this as a dream match between generational icons, and social media was buzzing with predictions about how Cena's veteran savvy would neutralize Brock's advantages. Completely wrong. What we got instead was a reminder that legitimate athletic ability trumps corporate protection every single time, and Brock made sure to demonstrate that lesson in the most brutal and humiliating way possible. From the opening bell, it was obvious that Cena had absolutely no answer for the Beast's combination of speed, strength, and genuine combat experience. The first German suplex happened so fast that Cena didn't even have time to attempt his usual comeback sequence. Brock grabbed him like he was handling a child, lifted him effortlessly, and drove him into the canvas with such authority that the impact echoed throughout the entire arena. But what made it so devastating was seeing the shock and panic in Cena's eyes as he realized his usual tactics weren't going to work against someone with this level of athletic superiority. Cena tried to use his signature comeback formula, the 5 moves of doom that had worked against countless opponents over 2 decades of dominance. The result was pathetic. Brock absorbed Cena's flying shoulder blocks without even stumbling, caught his side slam attempt and transitioned it directly into another German suplex, and when Cena tried for the attitude adjustment, Brock slipped out and delivered an F5 so vicious that Cena bounced off the canvas like a basketball. The crowd's reaction told the whole story of how shocking this domination really was. These were fans who had watched Cena overcome impossible odds for years, who expected him to dig deep and find a way to compete with anyone, regardless of their physical advantages. Instead, they were witnessing the complete exposure of their hero as someone who had been protected by creative booking rather than genuine superiority. What happened next was pure sadism from Brock, who seemed to take personal pleasure in dismantling everything that made Cena's character special. Instead of going for a quick finish, Brock started methodically breaking down Cena's spirit and fighting ability, making sure everyone understood that this wasn't just a loss, it was a complete destruction of everything Cena represented. The sequence where Brock hit Cena with 7 consecutive German suplexes was absolutely brutal to watch. Each suplex was more devastating than the last, and Cena's attempts to fight back became increasingly desperate and ineffective. By the 4th suplex, Cena was barely conscious, and by the 7th, he was completely limp in Brock's arms like a broken action figure. But the most infuriating moment came when Cena actually tried to quit the match by rolling out of the ring and walking toward the back. The man who built his entire career on never give up was literally giving up against someone who made him realize that his success had been built on WWE's protection rather than genuine ability. Brock wasn't about to let him escape that easily. The Beast followed Cena to the outside and threw him back into the ring like he was disposing of trash, then delivered 3 more German suplexes just to make sure everyone understood that leaving wasn't an option until Brock decided the lesson was complete. The visual of Cena being ragdolled by someone who wasn't even breathing hard was absolutely devastating for his credibility. Cena's attempts to rally with his signature moves were met with such casual dismissal that it became embarrassing to watch. When he finally managed to connect with a flying shoulder block, Brock just smiled and shook his head like he was disappointed in Cena's lack of power. When Cena tried for his top rope leg drop, Brock caught him in midair and transitioned directly into another F5 that nearly put Cena through the canvas. The psychological warfare was almost as brutal as the physical beating. You could see Cena's confidence completely evaporating as he realized that none of his usual tactics were effective against someone with legitimate athletic credentials. His body language shifted from determined comeback mode to desperate survival instinct, and the transformation was so complete that even his most loyal fans started feeling sorry for him. Brock's conditioning and athleticism were on full display throughout this massacre, proving that part-time status doesn't mean declining ability when you're dealing with someone who possesses genetic advantages that can't be taught or learned. He moved with the same explosive power that made him a UFC heavyweight champion, and Cena's experience meant absolutely nothing against superior athletic ability. The ending of this match was designed to send a message to anyone who thought corporate protection could overcome natural superiority. After hitting his fourth F5 of the match, Brock didn't go for an immediate pin. Instead, he pulled Cena up and delivered a fifth F5 just to demonstrate that this wasn't even close to his physical limit. When Brock finally decided to end Cena's misery, he placed one boot on Cena's chest and flexed for the cameras while the referee counted the most academic 3 count in recent memory. The visual of the Beast standing triumphant over the broken body of WWE's supposed golden boy was devastating for everything Cena's character represented. The aftermath of this squash match has created absolute chaos in WWE's booking philosophy and raises serious questions about how they've been protecting certain wrestlers at the expense of credible storytelling. Cena's complete inability to compete with legitimate athletic ability has exposed him as a creation of creative booking rather than genuine superiority. John Cena's physical condition after this beating tells the whole story of how complete his destruction was. He required assistance to leave the ring, stumbled multiple times while walking up the ramp, and was reportedly taken directly to the trainer's room for evaluation. This wasn't just a loss, it was a systematic breakdown of everything that made him appear invincible for 2 decades. The crowd's stunned silence during Cena's exit spoke volumes about how drastically his stock had fallen in the span of less than 10 minutes. Fans who came expecting to cheer for their hero left the arena having witnessed his complete humiliation at the hands of someone who doesn't care about his reputation or legacy. WWE's marketing department is probably in complete panic mode trying to figure out how to explain this disaster to sponsors and executives who invested heavily in Cena's brand value. How do you maintain someone's status as a company icon when they've been exposed as vulnerable to anyone with legitimate physical advantages? The ripple effects of this beating will be felt throughout WWE's entire main event scene. Other wrestlers who were scheduled to work programs with Cena are probably questioning whether those matches will still be compelling for audiences who just watched him get destroyed so easily. The mystique that made Cena effective as a comeback babyface has been completely shattered. Industry veterans are calling this one of the most shocking burials in WWE history, comparing it to legendary squash matches that redefined careers and established new power structures within the company. The difference is that this involved destroying someone who had been positioned as untouchable for over 2 decades. Brock's post-match behavior showed that this destruction was intentional and calculated rather than just competitive dominance. He took extra time to celebrate and pose, making sure cameras captured his complete lack of respect for Cena's accomplishments. The message was clear: corporate protection means nothing against legitimate superiority. The technical aspects of this match highlighted why authentic athletic ability matters more than manufactured storylines. Brock's wrestling background, combined with his natural strength and explosiveness, created advantages that Cena simply couldn't overcome through experience or determination alone. WWE's creative team now faces the impossible task of rebuilding Cena's credibility after this public humiliation. The traditional booking solutions that worked in the past may be ineffective when audiences have seen their hero exposed as fundamentally inferior to elite competition. Other wrestlers on the roster are probably reconsidering their own approaches after witnessing what happens when corporate favorites face legitimate athletic specimens. The lesson is clear: protection only works until someone doesn't care about playing along with predetermined hierarchies. The long-term damage